It's enough, I think. It's enough, I think.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Live Stream. I'm your host, Edie Arndell. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Scott Free. How's it going, Scott?
Doing good. How's everybody out there?
We living.
We're hanging in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We have a very special guest tonight, Gabe Medina, all the way from California.
Cali, that's right.
And we already got Abdul Jones here. What's up, Abdul? Hey, Greens.
Hey.
He always says, "Hey, Greens." That's okay.
Yay.
Oh, nice. I love that they just pop up on the screen. That's really cool.
It is the best.
My mom may be fluttering in a little bit because she
okay.
loves this. So yeah.
Right. What's her screen name? We'll look for her.
You know, she has a bunch of different ones, so we'll see which one she's feeling today.
Oh no, okay.
So I think we have a video that we got a lot to talk about from today.
Got a lot to talk about for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let me try to get this going here.
It says like
For weed?
Yeah, we're the Department of Cannabis Control.
Okay, isn't weed illegal here? Legal here in California?
We're the regulatory agency, so when people do criminal stuff related to it,
Uh-huh.
we're the ones who take the enforcement action.
You take the enforcement action? Okay, and are people getting rounded up at all for this? No?
They get detained until we identify them, but we're state law enforcement. We do not conduct immigration enforcement.
You do not conduct immigration enforcement. Okay, so nobody here is getting processed, checked, or anything like that.
Well, they're going to be, since they're part of the search warrant, we're going to identify who they are, and as long as they're not involved in criminal activity, they get to go.
How would you determine that if they're working on the farm?
They're not the ones responsible for the...
So you're going to go after the owner?
If they're the ones committing criminal activity, absolutely.
Okay, because there's a lot of people that are really scared right now, and for something like this to happen in this
No, that's
area
why
is
I'm glad-
ridiculous.
I'm glad you stopped to talk to me.
Okay.
To clarify it, right? Like, we are not immigration enforcement. In fact, in the state of California, state law enforcement officers
Yes.
can't conduct immigration activity. It's against the law.
Okay.
We can actually be prosecuted for
And
it.
are there translators on site to explain that to these people, along with
Yep.
Mixteco, Triqui, all those different languages?
Absolutely. And we've actually talked to the people, and everybody's aware that we're not conducting immigration.
Okay, cool. And what's your badge number, sir?
It's 7.
7?
Yep.
Just 7?
Just 7.
Wow, they're up there.
I was surprised it was 7, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
My name's
And
Kevin, by the way.
Kevin, okay. I'm a elected official in the area, so that's why I'm out here checking what's going
I'm
on.
glad you came out, man.
Okay.
Genuinely.
Alrighty. Well, okay. Well, if you could get some messaging out, because there are a lot of people freaking out in both Watsonville and the area
That's
right
the
now.
best way to do it.
To contact the press. Let the press know. Get them out here so that way they can know what's going on right now. You have a lot of press that are around this area, and I could get somebody out here in 5 minutes if you need me to.
If they show up, I'll talk to them.
Okay, I'll get somebody out right now.
Cool.
Okay, is it okay if I park right over here?
For now, yeah.
Okay.
No problem with that. We're going to be moving vehicles and unblocking the roadways.
Okay.
And you can
great,
kind of
thanks.
see the farm right there in the background.
Mm.
So just for some context, so on, I believe it was I think it was last Tuesday, where we had, so we have your rapid response team right here in California, and there are a bunch in different counties. We have YAR, which is your advanced rapid response, and what they do is when they hear about something, they go out and look to make sure that it's not ICE, and if it is, they're going to go ahead and communicate that to the different channels and platforms that they have set up. So I got a call from a text message from another trustee who was like, hey, there's this helicopter flying in your area, and a lot of people are freaking out. I got videos of people just running away. Some parents were just contacting my voice line and saying, I'm not going to step outside this house or send my child to school because we don't know what's going on. So I went out in my truck to make sure that it wasn't ICE, and luckily it wasn't. It was the Wildlife and Fish. I forgot their title, but what they do essentially is, if there is something going along with cannabis, they go out and search. And from what I was told about this particular incident was that the owner of that land had given out a little bit too many of the certificates in order to grow. So that's why they were coming in and raiding that area. But, just sitting with it after experiencing it, it's almost felt like this was a test run for us, because the community came out. They were making sure that observers were there, and it kind of forced us to really like organize in that moment, not having this before. So it was really, you know, scary just thinking that ICE was in our presence after hearing about it so much in Los Angeles and San Francisco, which is like we're smack in between those counties.
Has your video gone viral? I didn't look at any numbers.
It's been shared a few times. I think it's going to reach like about 1,000 view, a little bit more than 1,000 likes, and then 10,000 views. I think it's
okay. I
that's
mean,
pretty good.
It needs to. I mean, this thing screams of what is happening, which is they, like you said, they are getting us ready. Okay, if he's coming out here because some boss did too many paperwork, you know, put out too many, you know, allowances, and now you're going after the people who are out there. Why don't you go after him?
Exactly.
You didn't have to come out into the public. His badge number 7. What did they start this yesterday? I mean, it's unreal how fake that whole thing was. He's like, "Oh, what would you suggest we do? Have you heard of the press?" I mean, Jesus fucking, I couldn't. No, this shocked me. This really shocked me because that's exactly what this is. They are testing it.
Yeah, and I think they wanted to see how the community would respond to this, and it was a very big turnout. Yeah,
they want surveillance to be normal. They want to normalize. That's my new word, normalization. That's what they are trying to do. They want to normalize going out and harassing people. I mean,
yeah, and they had guns. Like they had guns, and they were just walking up and down the streets. And yeah, go ahead.
Did you notice how you asked, "Are you going to arrest people?" No, we're going to detain them.
Well,
what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. And we had legal observers there that were making sure that as they were talking to people, that they were coming out, and the observers were going in and talking to them and following up. To make sure that one, they were okay, and then just to ask them questions. We also had a lawyer come out, which was really great, to just talk to people. So, and that's why I said it was really good to see, like, even though this wasn't ICE, it really showed us, okay, this is what needs to happen when we do get that call. This is how people need to get out to the fields. These are the contexts that we need to get a hold of. And, you know, I'm very much in contact with press, and they were out there like in the next 5 minutes. Out there. So I think it was really good. And then also, I mean, I'm in Watsonville, Driscoll's, Martinelli's, Giant Berry, all those fields are pretty big targets right now because they know that we have a big mixed status community here in my area. So yeah, it was frightening. But the one, you know, silver lining of that is the community said, we're not going to allow this to happen on our watch, which I was really grateful for at that time. And, you know, just being an elected official, I tell people, like, even if it's a school board, go out there, tell them, because the one thing that they don't want to do is mess with elected officials. And, you know, that's why I feel like we need to be doing those types of things when we get these calls and not just saying, okay, well, let the observers go. No. You need a bunch of different touch points from different institutions out there to make sure that, one, you're watching them, and also making sure that you're holding them to account for not detaining people or processing them.
Right. I love that town. I can never remember the town in California where the mayor had the tow trucks go and grab the ICE guys.
Was it Montebello?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff we need, right? We need creative, you know, dissent, and coming from elected officials. Right.
Did you all see that meter maid? I don't know what they call them now, but going up and giving one of those ICE guys a ticket.
Oh yes, I did see that. And
he's carrying his coffee. She's like,
and he was just like responding to a call, right? Like, yeah. I think I saw that one. Yeah,
lights on, and you're parked illegally.
And he tried arresting her, didn't he? You
can literally see the coffee in his hand. It's official business to go get that coffee. I'm like, dude, you're so cliche. She's like, well, that's not going to go good for you. She's like, yeah, I'm just doing my job. I'm going to write your ticket anyway.
Exactly.
So beautiful.
And you know, this is the type of thing that I tell people, like, you know, police officers, they have one job, and that's to deal with crime. And after it happens, right? They're not a preventative organization that's going to come in and make sure that we're not leading up to that point. They come in response to. So that's why, you know, with everything going on right now, you know, that same day where we had this, this event that happened later on that night, I was at my school board meeting and we had a discussion about bringing, police departments into our schools. And I'm just there boggled because it's just like, okay, we just had this response today. Look how scared people were. And now you want to approve a contract that's going to police the very students that we're trying to protect because they're also being deported, detained, and not given due process. And, granted, we have these documents or resolutions that say we're not going to, work with ICE, but I can't take that to heart now, seeing how everything is going. Nobody's getting due process. Even, from reports that we were getting from parents, SROs were actually citing students without their parents knowing, and that's giving them a criminal record already. So if these kids try going out, getting a loan, a job, that citation that they got is going to appear on their record, and it's going to really have an impact on their lives as they try navigating this capitalist system. So, that's the point that I was really trying to drive home to the board. Like, we cannot say that we are a sanctuary organization during the day and yet at night we vote on policing our students. That makes no sense to me.
Wow. It's unbelievable. And I've seen some horrible, even before Gaza and before all this, I've seen some horrible videos of when you let police into the schools, how they treat the students, their kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like slamming them out of their desks, treating them like they're criminals, and all they are just like kids being kids.
And how many
especially teenagers talk back, that's part of it.
And it's not a coincidence that most of the videos you see the kids are black.
Yeah.
Not a coincidence.
Black, brown. Yep, exactly. And the school released a survey, and they had done it prior to these raids that were happening. So they were using really outdated data to justify this. And we have 3 high schools in my area. We have Aptos, which is predominantly white school, very affluent in that area. And then we have our 2 other high schools, which are in Watsonville, which is very low income. This is where a lot of our parents are working in the fields, middle-class families, just trying to get by. And it's usually Aptos gets what they want. They essentially get what they want a lot of the time, even though our district is 80% Latino, 20% white. That 20%, because they're able to show up to board meetings, because they could organize, because they have the time in order to tell, administrators, no, I want this, compared to my constituents who are working in fear to leave their homes, don't even speak English or Spanish. Some of them speak indigenous languages. So that survey they put out was only in English. So it didn't capture everybody. And the superintendent had the audacity to just go on stage and say, no, this is the data that we're using. And, I always have to call them out and say, this is absolutely skewed. How are we making informed decisions about our entire population based on this small sample size that you're, referencing? It doesn't do justice. And all it does is empower those loud voices, because you're not listening to the actual majority of parents who don't want police in our schools.
Well, and before the show, briefly, I was mentioning, why are military recruiters allowed in our schools?
Oh, God.
Because they're still children, and they're not of legal age to make any kind of decision. They're in there pitching to them. And recruiters will tell you anything to get you to sign on that dotted line.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and granted, the big, beautiful, bad bill just passed, right? And law enforcement is going to get even more money coming to them, especially ICE, right? So they're going to have the fiscal capability that they need. And the board, unfortunately, it was 4-2. 2 of us were against it, but these contracts totaled over $300,000 just for 2 full-time, 1 part-time officer.
Wow.
So it passed?
It passed. Yeah. Horrible. And if we want to show the other clip, these are the voices that came and somehow convinced the 4 trustees that this was the way to go.
All right, it's gonna take me a second. I should.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
no, that's okay. I don't know, Gaza and everything. I don't know what's going on today. I've been just so tired and I forgot to share it out to all my spaces on Facebook. So I was kind of doing that while we were talking. But I was like, why are only 2 people here? I know why.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, but check this out.
Born and raised in Watsonville. White privilege is a myth. Everyone in this county, everyone in this state, everyone in this country benefits from American privilege. Okay? You live in the wealthiest nation on earth. Even the 10%, okay, listen to this statistic, are most impoverished, are the top 10, in the top 10% of wealth owners in the world. There are nations that are far worse off than us. With that being said, throwing things around like white privilege, okay, I don't have any privilege beyond American privilege. I have had to work for everything that I own. Okay, I'm taxed as much as all of you. The real problem might be that we all look at the tax burden. And you can bandy about statistics and you can manipulate statistics. 40% of mass shooters, according to some statistics, were on psychotropic drugs. For what reason? We dope up our young men in schools because instead of recognizing that they are men and that they have energy and that it needs to be directed, we give them mind-numbing drugs. And then when they get off of it, they go and shoot up their schools. Why is that? Okay, psychiatric professionals, let's take a look at that. Another statistic for you, 24%, only 24% of schools in America have armed security. Our schools are soft targets. Banks, our civil leaders, many of our private institutions are all allowed to have armed security, yet we leave our young men and women in the public school system. We have guards here tonight. I challenge you. I challenge you to tell me that the brown, okay, the many people of color in our law enforcement departments in this county don't care about the students and would offer.
So that
Brown?
was Mr. Obregon. Yeah, Brown. Yeah, he was talking about a majority of the people that were there. And yeah, we did have officers there, of course, because they wanted that contract renewed. Why wouldn't they be there? You know, so, and this was the Republican Central Committee in my area who was organizing these people and getting them out there. They even sent out a letter afterwards that somebody had forwarded me stating like, oh, Gabriel's a communist. He doesn't want to protect our kids and all these things. And, you know, it's those talking points that just show the ignorance, right? As somebody who's grown up around police, I could tell you, you know, from the get-go that having presence of a police officer is not prevention. Just because they're there does not mean that they're going to stop a situation from happening. We clearly saw that in Parkland, in Uvalde, right? All these officers were there, yet look at the amount of life that was lost. So I tell people, if we really want to help our students, we need preventative measures. We need social emotional counselors. We need cultural programs for our students so that way they're connected. And you know, there was a point in there that he was saying about young men. I agree to some extent that we do need to foster more of a relationship with young men, because right now we're losing them to people just like that who are you know, pointing the finger that the left or all these things are doping up their kids, that we're making it very hard for young men. When in fact, capitalism is, it's not us, it's not immigrants, it's nobody else. It's the system that is making it hard. And I don't know if you saw that, that Jubilee with Mehdi Hassan versus like 20, that was insane, but that is where young men are headed right now. Because of the influence of all these podcasters who are just, you know, just machismo spreading around. And we do need some programs to help them to channel not only that energy, but teach them that machismo isn't the way to go, that being a good human being is the way to go, right? Not judging others. If somebody disagrees with you, how do we do that civilly? Because right now it's just so hard to even have a conversation with people. I like running Socratic seminars on topics that are controversial in my classrooms, so that way we could understand, like, yes, we're gonna have differences of opinion, and the craziest Socratic seminar that we had was vanilla ice cream is the best, right? They went off on that, right? And I said, look, you guys had a disagreement. Some of you love chocolate, some of you love strawberry, but look, you're still talking, because guess what? It was a discussion of our views and what we think, right? And it's not polarizing us. And that's how we have to approach when we have these political debates. Yes, people are not going to agree with you, and they're going to come from a different point of view. But at the same time, if we just say we're not going to engage with them, well, then we're going to have a hard time changing their mind and bringing them into the light, into knowledge. Right. So, I think it's really
how
important.
you handle it that matters. And,
exactly.
Oh, did I freeze?
No, you're good.
One of my favorite doctors, Dr. Gabriel Mate, which is Aaron Mate's dad, talks about that we live in a toxic culture. And that's why all the meds, and that's why all the anger and frustration. And, like if you think about it like a science experiment, if the organism in the culture is not thriving, then the culture is toxic.
And Edie, I want to add to what you were saying. It was in that film that we screened, where yes, folks are on psychotropic drugs and drugs to help with their situation because of the background and all that came up to that. And you mix that with the capitalist private health insurance system, and very often, they're off their psychotropic drugs. Why? Because they couldn't afford it that month. They got dropped. They're, all the different situations, they weren't being taken care of, right? Some of those drugs can be dangerous when you go off them. But the reality is, if you had a stable system, they would be staying on those drugs. So it's way more complicated. He totally cherry picked the issues.
Saying it could be worse is like the worst thing you can say to anyone. Like, what are you complaining about? It could be worse. I mean, that's just never okay.
Well, I don't even want it at the point we're at right now.
Thanks for that. Like, I don't know what to do with that. We got lots of comments though.
Oh yeah.
I got my good friend Joni Weber here.
Hey,
Edie Scott and Green Friends.
Hey.
I'm gonna go see her later.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
And then Brian Grigsby, one of our regulars, Bad Cookies, former moderator of Hardlands, was what I said. He's an infiltrator, likely paid by the Dems to advocate for the destruction of Green Party and non-protesting. I chased him off Hardlands.
Oh, I'm lost. Yeah, well,
I'm lost.
Good for you.
You got to name specific people. I lost.
Yeah,
we lost.
I lost the thread. Sounds like the libertarian race to the bottom rhetoric.
Oh, I mean that Mediasan Jubilee thing. I mean, there's been a lot of talk around it. I watched a really good podcast by Greg Stoker on Mint Press News where he discussed it, and it's interesting because he's like, I don't want to promote Jubilee. The last thing we should be doing is promoting Jubilee. And Mehdi Hassan does it for the clickbait, but it's good to know how scary this shit is. These people are real. These people if they're not powerful, they have powerful connections, and they want the white race to take over. This is pure Nazi world that we're living in now. I didn't look at the story, but there's a story of a white town that's being formed. Was it in Wisconsin or I don't know where? It was a white town that they're forming, and they're like actually putting the plans in place to have it. And I mean, that's the least scary. That's just creepy. Go in your little town. You go. But I mean, it's way worse. So the Jubilee folks, they and again, it ties back into what we talked about with these setting up these raids to get used to surveillance and ICE with their mask on, kidnapping people. That is the process that's happening. People don't talk a lot about Stephen Miller, but he's the behind the scenes of Trump.
Horrible.
He's the behind the scenes as he was in the first time, but now he's getting the chance to really enact his plans. So we're living in a horrific.
It has everything to do with why we're so attached at the hip to Israel as well. It is supremacy of certain people.
it's white supremacy there. I mean,
Mhm.
they want to say Jewish. It
They
ain't
want to say
Jewish,
Jewish, but it's
no, it's white
not.
supremacy.
Oh my gosh, yes. We had this whole battle with ethnic studies, and the Zionists came out strong at that. I don't know if you know about AB 715 over here, but it's pretty much trying to penalize anybody who discusses anything bad about the state of Israel, and claiming it to be anti-Semitic, and it would really enforce some repercussions on teachers, any administrators, or anything like that. So it's going to the Senate. It actually got pulled, but they're trying to rebrand it again. And that's kind of what we're facing right now, because there has been so much censorship. AB 715, and this is for California.
And, to take it into the world of the Democrats, both Mamdani and AOC are doing this. Oh, we got to worry about anti-Semitism crap. I mean, coded language for, normalizing genocide. It's sick. It's sick. It's sick. It's sick.
No, it's horrible. And, I know I told you guys I'm with Sean Doherty and his campaign. I'm glad you guys are going to have him on. But
yes,
one of the things that I'm really trying to do is just show, the Latino community, the connection between what's happening in Gaza and what's happening to our community right now. The surveillance, the disappearances, no due process, putting us in detention camps. This is all a playbook that's been done in Gaza, and now they're bringing it over here and applying those principles onto us, which is, why I tell, a lot of my community, we need to be worried about Gaza. We need to be defending defending our Palestinian brothers and sisters, because it is happening to us. And,
right.
I've told them, these people cannot distinguish a Palestinian child from a Mexican child because we look the exact same. And this is what's going to happen. I do a lot of indigenous practices, and our elders have always taught us to treat others with respect, because what happens to others will eventually happen to us. And, I really live by that. So, I do get people want to be isolated into these silos, and by all means, that's America. You have the liberty to do that. But when you're going to start infringing on other people's, right to space, right to be a part of these groups, or, these different systems that we're all trying to be involved with to make America a great place for everybody, because this nation was built on immigrants, right? And Black labor, indigenous labor. And I think the point that we're trying to make, especially as indigenous people on the West Coast, is we will never do to you all what you did to us. We do not want that for you all. And I think that's a mentality sometimes that comes into these discussions is, oh, we treated them bad, and if they get power, they're going to do the exact same thing to us.
Right.
No,
well, that's what they used to say about slavery. That's what they used to say about slavery. They were afraid.
Yeah.
And they should have been.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get that, because
but I think we need to fight that with humility, right? Like, those are the types of things where we need to really have a strong stance. Like I said, right, we're going to have differences. That every country is going to have people with differences in them, but how we discuss those differences, and afterwards, how do we talk to each other knowing that we have these differences? I remember, I had people in my family that were Republican, like back in the early 2000s, and it wasn't an issue. But now we have family members, who are Republican, but they've embraced the worst side of the Republican Party. And it's just like, okay, I get it, right? You're Latino, you came here the right way, you got your paperwork, all these things. But this system isn't meant for all of us to come in the right way. It's meant to get certain people in the right way, right? In order to change the makeup of the country.
Right.
Like Melania's an immigrant. How the hell did she get in? Because she's a model? Like,
right.
So, and
nobody knows.
It's disheartening too when, like that one gentleman who was speaking, it's just like, had you been properly educated by our school system, you would have known, like, about the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, that this was Mexico, that this was indigenous land prior, right? And I don't hold that against anybody. That was the time. That's what happened. Granted, it didn't happen in a great way because of what America did and manifest destiny and all these things. But again, I'm not going to turn around and say, well, guess what? Manifest destiny has told us that we need to get our land back. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Because that's something that we're told fighting, anger with anger just leads to more anger and more destruction. So we just need to come to the table to have these conversations. And, in that Jubilee, one of the people told Mehdi to go back home, go where you come from. You're not American, right? And I think this raises the big question is, well, how are we defining American?
Right.
Right? Are we defining it based on if your family came here on the Mayflower illegally as a white indentured servant who was trying to pay off their debts? Right? Is it our Black community who was forced over here? Right? Or is it the indigenous people who were here prior to any colonialism that was happening? Right? So what does it mean to be American? And then also get this, when you go to like South America, Central America, and you say you're American, they go, yeah, we're American too. What makes you special? Just because you're North American? No.
Yep.
So, the U.S. needs to have a hard discussion with itself about its past. And I feel like that's always going to be the case if we don't address it, if we don't talk about it.
Right. No, I think of South Africa, It's not like
absolutely.
all the blacks murdered all the whites when they, became the majority and there was equality. Now they try to talk about a white genocide.
That was wild. Yeah. Even Abby Phillips was like, CNN was trying to defend that and they couldn't. It was just like, no, it just feels like this reverse right, like of what's happening.
Projection,
like, well, you all did this and now this is happening to us. See, you guys are the majority and look what's happening to us now. And it's just like, dude, I don't want anything bad to come upon you. I want you to have a great life. I want your children to have a great life, access to healthcare, access to education. That way you could grow in the economic ladder. But in a capitalist system, somebody always has to lose. Somebody's always going to be exploited in this type of system that we live in. And we have to acknowledge that if we want to move forward.
That's why we can't run the country like a business, because there are winners and losers in business.
Exactly.
I did want to comment about back to Gabriel Mate. He really influenced me a few years back. Still does. He talks about people's triggers, and he goes, if you think about the word trigger and you relate it to a gun, it's the smallest piece on the gun. You have to have the barrel, the whatever that is, where you cock it back. I don't know.
I'm not a gun expert.
I'm not either. And the explosive and the ammunition and the bullets and all that, to make it work. So the trick is all that is already inside of you. So when somebody pulls your trigger, you explode.
Oh, good point.
Right.
Yeah, right. Good analogy.
And I think we had this conversation in the Uber with that guy. And I'm like, so if you diffuse all of that inside of you, it's much harder for people to trigger you. And I just wanted to explain to our friend Brian Grigsby here. I say no worries. I lived in California for quite some time. That's a California thing to say. And our guest is here from California. So
I am
he
from
said
Cali.
Something we didn't quite understand.
Okay.
Like,
Central Cali. Yes.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time relating here. Chicagoan that I am.
And and just bringing it even back to these raids that are happening, we just had somebody in Camarillo pass away who was trying to run away from ICE, an older gentleman. We had another gentleman who lost his green card, went back to renew it, and was secretly deported back to Guatemala. And his family just figured that out recently. We have a young child with cancer who has not gotten treatment for the past 3 to 4 weeks in these detention centers. And if you're actually looking inside these detention centers, it's so inhumane. Don't even get me started on alligator Alcatraz. Like,
horrible.
It's just like, have we not seen history? Have we not read Anne Frank? Right? Have we not seen these things happen before? And yet we're letting them happen again. And it was just so grotesque to see people like even taking photos with that alligator Alcatraz sign out there. Like, it's something prideful. It's like people are being treated inhumanely in this area. They only have 3 toilets, no privacy. They're brushing their teeth the same place that they defecate because that's how they're setting it up. And it's meant to dehumanize people.
Right.
And, I'm a lot of people, especially my community, are talking about the sleeping giant. Like, we're waking up now. And I said, yes, but we also need to wake up the other sleeping giants. in order for us to really have that power. In order to move forward, we need to build bigger coalitions, right? We need to bring in people, because us as a single community can't do this on our own, right? You know, and I like talking about Mahmoud Khalil, who was an actual green card holder, who was denied the opportunity to be with his wife when she was giving birth to their child, right? These are the things that are happening under this administration. And I blame the Democrats too, because they have a lot to do with this.
Oh, God, yeah.
Especially with immigration, because every time this issue comes up, we're the playing chips, right? Okay, we're not going to put immigration right on the table. We're not going to give DACA their status, because we need to use that in order to make these political points or to get the Republicans to join us on something. Right. And quite frankly, a lot of us are just tired of that. We're so tired of it.
No, the Democrats will never take action, ever. There are so many ways that they could shut down the system. You know, there are Senate procedures. There's all kind of things they could do. They don't do any of it. And right, when they're in power, then there's suddenly, oh, we can't get something accomplished. There's just, you know, we got two
parliamentarian won't let us.
You're reading my mind, dude.
No, they're horrific. And oh God, it gets me so angry. I even saw folks in my local Chicago Coalition for Palestine, Justice for Palestine. They were making comments trying to defend AOC. And it's like, okay, if we're in a system, if you don't understand what's going on here, folks, I mean, the Democrats are enabling genocide. They started it, and now they're enabling it. They don't shut it down. It's horrific for people not to understand. We have to shut down this system. It's all got to go. Stop picking a side, folks. Stop.
And that's what a duopoly does, right? It forces you to pick a side. And then whatever side somebody picks, it becomes politicized.
Yep.
So, that's why go green, y'all. Run green. We need more green folks.
Yeah,
and I tell people do it at the local level. Like, that's where we should be starting and then rising in the ranks.
Yeah, I watched Butch today on Habibi House.
Oh,
and he made this really funny comment. He's like, you know, one party robs the store and the other one holds the bag.
Oh,
seriously, that's really good.
That's a good one. Right.
I'm like, good. You're always bringing it, man.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, and it's people like Butch that I tell people, like, we just need a generational shift in our politics. You know, even now I'm like one of the only younger board members, and even though I'm bringing evidence, I'm bringing data, I'm bringing these points, people are just so tied to the way that they were raised or the way that they see things. You know, like this whole debate with police officers in schools, I'm having more teachers telling me that they feel safe, and I said, great, I love that for you, but what about that brown and black student on campus who doesn't feel safe?
Right.
Why are we ignoring them? Right? You're not the one getting policed. You're not the one getting searched. You're an adult. You have more authority. But these students don't have that voice on campus to tell a police officer to stop. Right.
And remember, during the Black Lives Matter era, when every black parent was talking about the talk they have to have with their child. Every single black American has the talk with their child about how to handle a situation with the police, and now you're going to put them in their school. Great, just great.
Yeah,
it's just the worst.
It's horrible. And even, you know, I feel like we're even having this new talk. The other day, I was walking out. I just had my wallet, and my grandma saw that I left my passport on the table, and she quickly ran outside and gave it to me. She said, "Keep this with you."
Right.
And then she's like, "Where's your birth certificate?" And I said, "It's in my folder." She's like, "Go grab that now. Go grab that. Have your birth certificate and your ID. So that way, if you get pulled over, if something happens, you have those documents with you." And that's the kind of discussions we're having right now with young brown kids. If you go out, you're needing to carry your passport, your ID, your birth certificate to even show that you're a citizen now, because there's so much racial profiling going on right now, especially within California.
Yeah, so Southern Cal, the university, they went and put all their classes online just because their students are afraid to go out in public. I mean, it's
oh man, yeah, like even like Placito Olivera, which is popping, right? That's like the hub for Mexican culture items, vendors. It's a ghost town now.
Yeah,
Los Callejones, where people would go and, you know, get meals, buy like stuff in bulk to sell at their shops, or get dresses for their quinceañeras, empty. Right? Even people, I don't know if you've read this story too, but there was a young girl who was having her 15th birthday party, and half her families did not attend because they were scared of a potential raid that could happen if they were to leave their homes.
Right.
Like, it's having such a mental, health effect on us. We're on our toes consistently. And granted, we do have local police officers, but we don't know what their intention is. You know, I've known some police officers, like, yeah, they're community oriented, but I also know other officers who are just so about their ego. You know, they were the jock in high school, and now they're the police officer right in our police departments, and they want to maintain that structure, that power, right, over other people. And it just needs to change. It needs to really change. And we need more mental health clinicians in our schools that do prevention. I just want prevention for our students. That way we don't have officers on there taking up hundreds of thousands of dollars from our educational budget. That, by the way, Trump has already cut. He's holding about $2.8 billion or something like that from the state of California. And we're already feeling that within our budget. And guess what? The first thing they're going to go towards in cuts, it's going to be teachers and the arts. Those are the two things that they're going to go after. And it's so detrimental because the arts give us a venue where we could actually express ourselves. And when we start cutting off students' ability to express themselves, who they are, what their dreams are, that in itself is going to have a really bad impact on our students.
Okay. That builds it up inside, the frustration, the fear, and it may explode at some point. Brian Bixby makes a great point here. I would give my ID to an attorney and carry copies of everything with the name of the lawyer for more info. Police cannot be trusted.
Never be trusted. My God, I just want to make a comment on the music thing because it's like both Edie and I are artists. I'm a musician, and you don't appreciate. I mean, the school system that I went through and my music education, I mean, that obviously changed my life. I mean, it was probably the most important thing in my life was my music education in the school. I didn't appreciate it at the time, but now I get it. I get it. It was incredibly important. And, those things, again, quality of life, they want to cut away at the quality of life of Americans. It's horrible. They want to
turn us into little automatons, little worker bees.
Exactly.
And work so you can barely hang on. But I think the real reason behind it, besides, they just don't like people, is that it's shifting. The demographics are shifting, and they're trying desperately to cling to power. And what they don't realize is that I may be white, but I'm not with you. So right. I can kind of slide by them a little, but eventually.
And I think that's a really good point, right? Because I tell people, the people that you're seeing on the news that are being the loudest, that are the far right, those are a very small group of people compared to the amount of support that we have right now. But the media is going to show you this because it brings in eyeballs, it brings in news, right? And it's causing a division. And I tell people, like, no, because I do get a lot like, oh, white people this. And I said, don't generalize, because when they generalize about us, how do we feel about that? Right? We got to think about those things too. And oh gosh, I was going to bring up another point about the arts. I was a film kid. I loved film. That was the way that I expressed myself. And had it not been for those film classes, I don't think I would have enjoyed school as much. Right. And we're in this school system that was created by Henry Ford a long time ago to make those worker bees. Right. I see teachers burnt out even by the time they get to Thursday, Friday. The workday is ridiculous. Students are in a classroom, boxed in this room for nearly 8 hours, 40-minute lunch. Right. We're conditioning them from a world that's probably not going to exist like that anymore, because I don't see that many jobs sticking to 9 to 5. Right. It's so what is it called? What's that word? It's uncentralized. It's not centralized anymore. Right. So to these things, like, we're not all watching CNN anymore. We're watching independent news. Right. And another point I want to make too is about the arts is my uncles, they had auto shop, they had electric, wood shop, and they actually made a job out of those things. So we're not even teaching our students how to get ready for a workforce, because right now Gen Zers are like, why do I want to go to school to get in debt? Why am I going to do that? Right? Instead, we should be doing job training programs in high school, because this generation is so smart. They could open PDF files. Let me tell you that, compared to other generations, right? They are ready to go and they're so smart. And this generation has the knowledge literally at their fingertips. They are fact checking. They are looking at information. And I tell like adults, like, listen to them. Like, why is it that we adults are making all these rules for students, and yet we don't even have their voice asking them, is this something that they want? So we also need to bring them into our governance, I feel, because if I'm at a job for 8 hours, I better have my good ergonomic chair. I better be in great working conditions, right? Because this is time out of my life, my day, that I am coming and contributing, right? And I think we need to apply that to students too. They're just as tired as we are by the time it gets to Friday, right? And we're removing this whole social aspect that, past generations had. Like, I love that Generation X, they were the last generation to be able to go hang out 7-Eleven after school. Their parents were at work, not bothering them, come home with their buddies. People aren't doing that anymore. I'm not even seeing people have dinner with their families anymore. It's like, great, food's made, we'll all come in when we can.
Well, I mean, they practiced on Gaza, and they want to break up the family unit, because once people are isolated, you can control them better. You break those connections. And what I'm trying to do in Southern Illinois is, we have great communities here, but I don't think they really all talk to each other. So we're planning to do a Peace Day rally. We just decided last night at our chapter, and on September 21st. And I want to bring all the communities that I'm in touch with, and bring them all into the same space.
Yes.
I mean, we did it once before. The Peace Coalition had a People's Assembly. I'm like, we need to do this once a month. But it's hard to do, to bring everybody together and bring all your stuff and your tables, and find people to work it and all that. So
I want to make 2 points. The first is, and I don't think it was AI. It was a video. I don't know if you guys have seen it, of a robot walking down New York City.
Oh, yes, I did see that one. Yeah.
And, you watch it, and it is the most frightening thing in the world. And all the comments are like, oh my God, iRobot, here it is. We're done.
Yep.
And they all went to Terminator, and they all went to, and I mean, frightening. I mean, it's cute. The guy's like, he shakes somebody kind of puts their hand out, and he shakes it, and but it is so
they got us used to it with this.
Well, and it's so frightening because like you said, without any kind of physical job training in our schools, what are people going to do? AI is going to replace everyone. Robots are replacing manufacturing. I mean, there is not going to be anything to do.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to make, just very quickly, in my Marxist education that I'm trying to have, is now I realize, I had the epiphany today, because I'm obsessed with the weather channels and watching this stupid shit. That climate catastrophe, climate change is a class issue. And I didn't even realize it until it hit me really hard that, all the people that died in Texas were just kids at their, camp, and the hurricanes that are coming. They had an article about how you're going to make your home, hurricane, be able to, stop hurricanes from damaging it. And these are multi-million-dollar homes. Yeah. And you realize, oh yeah, right. It's the poor people who are all going to die.
Well, can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, go over it.
Because I remember this during Katrina. I was standing in the back room of one of my stores. I used to be a vendor delivering chips, and arguing with this other vendor. And he's like, well, why don't they just leave? And I'm like, well, what do you need to leave? He goes, you just get in the car and go. I'm like, car? Uh-huh. Okay, what else do you need? He's like,
Uh-huh.
nothing. I'm like, a place to go, gas in the car, money to get there, a hotel, money for food. A lot of people don't have that.
Exactly.
You know?
The assumptions we make, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's because
you
I'm
can do it.
comfortable. Exactly. And you know that, and I love that you said that, Scott, because even over here where I'm at, we had the Moss Landing fire, right? Which was a huge fire that like really came at us. And the one thing that I find really crazy is, so the fire's happening over here. We're separated by a mountain. My community's over here. They said, all right, we're going to go ahead and give you guys $500, but the cutoff is this road right here. As if that fire didn't dissipate over that hill into our community, right? I was like, how did I not know about this magical wall that stopped the fire right on Elkhorn Road? Right? You know, and it just shows, you know, like, because this was a chemical fire. And just even before that, I think I mentioned to this to you all before, we had the Pajaro floods. I had schools that didn't have windows while the fires were happening, you know, and they want to build another plant over here, and we're really trying to fight that. And on top of that, we got pesticides. Our Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers actually finally filed a lawsuit against Big Ag because of the amount of poison that my community has been getting. I have students, or students who have childhood cancer, autism, ADD, you name it, right? And that gentleman who we played that first time, he's actually a farm worker. He's a fourth generation farm worker. He said, me and my family have grown up on farms and none of us have cancer. So therefore, all these things about pesticides bringing on cancer is not valid. And it's just like, well, these things take time in your body and it goes from generation to generation. That's where it starts, right? So that's why my mom had really bad ADD, right? Mine is getting a little bit better. My sister's is getting a little bit better. But these are the consequences that we had to endure because our grandma was directly sprayed, right? My grandma, her mom, was directly sprayed by these pesticides. And to hear people just say, well, if it's not happening to us, it's not happening anywhere. It is just a lack of education, and
Yes.
It is
a lack of education, if not an appreciation of science. And I get science was hit hard by these scumbags like Bill Gates, but science used to have some valid, it still does, obviously. But the fact that they don't, oh my God, every time I read a climate thing online, I mean, it must be these cloud seeding bots. It must be AI bots throwing out this cloud seeding crap, cloud seeding. I mean, these people are just, it is such a, we're in trouble.
Well, I would say that it is lack of curiosity. On some level, they just, some people just gravitate towards authoritarian things. And then we've, somebody said, Brian again, all fascist states first dumb down the people.
Yep.
Because then you'll believe stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
So.
And there's my theory of the, and help me with the VP candidate who started Inconvenient Truth.
Gore.
That my theory, unproven, is that, that was even done on purpose, right? Because what it did is politicize climate change. So Republicans hate it because the Democrat presented it to us. And sure enough, now climate's a politics issue, and it's a hoax. It's ever been a political issue. And boy, they went with that. And again, right, the Fox News world has an incentive of the oil companies paying them to keep that, lie going about that it's fake, that it's cloud seeding. That's the new one.
Yeah.
And
we got a couple more comments here that I want to get to. Yep. Let's see. My friend Joni, it is heartbreaking in my town. Latinos are getting passports to self-deport. Families waiting in line at the post office. Very depressing. Special place in hell for Miller and others.
I know what I mean. History books. He'll be there with the Nazis.
D and R's divide people to the point they become incurious.
Yeah.
And Alexandria's here. What's up, Alexandria?
Hey.
Indeed, Edie. Apathy is death. You become apathetic to the struggles around you, and you start to look more like a zombie than a living being. And that reminds me of the robot story we're talking about. Hang on. They used mechanical dogs in Gaza
Yep.
And
they're
they made
trying to
you
bring
sound
those
like
here.
baby crying. So someone will go out and then
and then they shoot him. Yeah.
they shoot him.
And what's really scary, like, I don't know if you've seen the movie iRobot, like, what was really frightening to me about that is that one scene where the robot determines, like, oh, this person only has a 30% chance of living. This person has a 60% chance of living. I'm going to save this person opposed to this person, you know, and if we're going to hand off, you know, these types of rulings to artificial intelligence, it's not going to work well, because if we're looking, it's just like looking at data, right? We could look at all these spreadsheets, but what's the story behind those data points? That's what I'm interested in, right? Especially when it comes to our students, right? Like, oh, well, 50% of students, why are they saying that? Why is that, right? I want to know the story behind those numbers, not just not just reducing people to these numbers, because once we do that, you remove the humanity from the people. And, you know, it's scary. And, you know, one thing that I like about being an artist going into AI is I have this really big hunch that AI is going to kind of take on what film is doing right now. When we make a film, we put it out there, we get residuals, right? We go to Netflix, Hulu, we get all these places. So every time they run it, we get a certain amount of money. I think it's going to have to get to the point where if AI is starting to generate stuff like Hayao Miyazaki, right? His unique art style, he's going to be getting residuals, right? At least 25 cents to $1. I hope we're getting to that point, because if it's going to be around and doing that, artists need to get paid.
Yeah.
Right. And if we're handing off administrative, and if we're handing off administrative tasks to AI, right? Well, if they're going to start producing revenue based on these things, we need some sort of universal basic income that's coming into us, $1,000 a month from the government or something like that, to really offset those costs. But if America is also going to be reducing our immigrant workforce, this is something that people don't get. Immigrants pay into the system, billionaires don't, right? So if you get rid of the people that are paying into the system, these people aren't going to do it. If anything, they're going to get more money and not have this, what would they call it? Trickle down economics? Not real. They're hoarding it. They're buying yachts. They're buying towers. They're buying up homes, right? In order to build these like zombie homes that nobody could live in, right? It's unaffordable. They're jacking up prices. So it's getting to the point where a lot of people are frustrated. Like, housing is huge right now. And get this about housing. They're putting us against immigrant communities, right? With housing. We have farm workers who can't afford to live in the Santa Cruz area. It is just ridiculously expensive. So now now a lot of the ag folks are looking into building housing for farm workers. Well, guess what that's doing? It's causing tension between the community, right? Because they also need housing. And I tell people, don't buy into that. Don't do that. That's what they want. They want us divided. They want us to have this tension between each other. But what we should be doing is, you should be creating housing for everybody in your area, in your community. And if you're not going to do that, give up some of your land, so that way we could have developers come in and actually build affordable units that we could go into. Because I know so many millennials, so many of us that are living back home with our parents. We have roommates. Not many of us have kids, which we get a lot of crap for, right? I don't know if you've heard this, but there's
afford them.
Exactly. Like, there's declining enrollment happening in my area. We don't have as many students anymore, and they're justifying cuts with that. But I tell them, why don't millennials have kids right now? Because we cannot afford it. We can't even afford a home for our families right now. To take somebody out on a date is just so expensive, right? And if you're not making that type of income to keep up with this system, you're gonna fall, and you're gonna fall into a really bad depression. I'm seeing that happen across the board with so many young people who at this point in their lives should have had a home, a car, a stable job, but they don't have that. We're not experiencing what our parents had. And millennials are one of the most educated generation compared to other generations. Yet our BAs, our MFAs, our PhDs aren't doing much for us right now.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, It's like, well, it's so interesting. I mean, again, I think, the reason it always seems to come back to the Green Party is that my vision for the Green Party is that it's an organizing tool. And yes, we're going to run candidates and we're going to have these campaigns. That's about the promotion of ideas. But I think the most important thing is the organizing, because we are going to have to help each other. I just did 2 mutual aid things. I did RBN, which is Rome and Nick. They came into Chicago to do a mutual aid right at the Hampton House, and then the Black Panther Cubs, which comes out of Hampton House. I did a mutual aid with them too. And, you just see that is I don't want to say future, but what we're going to have to do, because we talk about all these different situations. I mean, you think about, the disasters that have happened across the country, the weather disasters, and what happens? Massive mutual aid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just massive. And it's all volunteer and that's wonderful. And it's absolutely necessary. That's going to be our reality. That just is going to be our reality. That's how we're going to survive, because they want to kill us all. They really do, folks, except the white ones. I guess they'll save me, although I'm old.
Well,
so they probably won't save me either. But
we'll just be the last ones, because they won't like our politics.
I'm going to go chill with y'all. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, no, there was, what was
I got
that
room.
meme?
It's fine.
What was that meme? First, they came for the socialists. Oh,
Yeah.
shit, I'm a socialist.
Yeah. And you know what's really interesting though? Like, I'm glad that word isn't a dirty word anymore. I'm happy about that.
I know.
This younger generation is just like going out there. I've seen like Dems be like, oh my God, they're being indoctrinated. And it's like, no, they're actually experiencing the reality of capitalism, and it is not working for them. Right. That is why they're trying to find a system that is more beneficial for the masses, not the few.
And the step they need to go is and I'm not there yet. The step they need to go is to Marxism. So that's the next one, because unfortunately, yes, it's great that socialism is out there, but DSA will suck up to the Democrats, and Bernie he really destroyed that word in a lot of ways. He destroyed the word revolution too, in a lot of ways. So we have to revive those. But there is no doubt that we have to keep going. One of my favorite people I'm going to recommend to her right now is Jody Brar. And she a lot of times she ends up on Garland Nixon's show. So go check that out, folks. She's a communist out of London, and she just really presents things in a really, I think she's my favorite communist, because communists can drive me a little nuts, right? They're like, they're like, oh my God, will you stop?
It gets a little thick with the language.
Well,
and like everybody, it's like the inside baseball kind of stuff. Right.
And they get so hardcore. And I'm like, hey, if we could just be as communist as China, I'm cool. Because, China's got billionaires, China's got private markets. They got a lot of, if we could just get as communist as China, I'm great,
And I think, because of the American propaganda around the word communism, right?
Right.
The way that I tell people is like, imagine if all the farm workers own those fields and they got to split all the profits that they made. Wouldn't you want that? They're like, oh my God, that sounds great. I'm like, great, that's communist. That's what we need. Letting labor own the means of production and not having it go to one fat cat, right? Who's just gonna hoard all that money while their workers are like just being devastated by the economy.
That's another myth of job creators.
Right.
People that have money and go spend it. Those are the job creators. And co-ops,
they're gonna hire 5 people for their yacht. Like that's not job creation. Like
I was trying to find this comment that my friend sent me about that socialist quote. She's like, first they came for the socialist, and the rest of the damn thing. That's why I'm standing here.
Yeah. But you notice how that one.
You
notice how popular that one is, though. That phrase. I mean, it's, and like I said, they're making jokes around it but it's so popular because we're seeing it. That's the scary thing. Shit.
It is the reality.
They're coming for the easy ones. That's So, I see Michelle is in.
Yeah, Michelle's here.
We got to get you on the show, Michelle.
Well, that's our hour. It feels like we just started.
Oh my God, it feels like we just came on. Yeah.
I know. No, so if you want to hang on a few and just talk, we can talk amongst ourselves after the show. But I just wanted to thank all of our wonderful commenters here. Sorry we didn't get to all of them. It's so good to see all these familiar names, and most of them have faces to go with them. So that's really yeah. So
I didn't even know I could see the comments on my screen. That's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's so
I just looked at the tab right now. Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So and thank you for being here, Gabe. This is very needed conversation. Like linking what's happening in Gaza to here is something that I think people don't understand. They practice on them and then they bring it here.
They bring it here.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And what I want to emphasize, Gabe, is thank you for actually doing the work, because you are an elected official and then you hear something and you get out there, because that is so important. We need that. And thank you for that.
Yeah.
And that video. That video's got to go viral, because it just captures exactly our situation right now. The friendly face, number 7, you know.
Oh, Mr. Kevin. Yeah, number 7, Mr. Kevin. Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Boy.
Scary.
I don't think he has a number. He's just out there doing something.
Yeah, I was like, you're really up there in ranking if you're number 7. Like, I know how that works. Like,
or is it like 300 and you're like the 7th best one or something?
Well, I just thought they started yesterday, and they were like, at least start with 000. Okay, come on.
Right. Yeah, like your checking account, right? Like
exactly.
Oh,
yeah, Michelle says, "Run, Edie, run."
Yeah,
well, I did a soft launch of my campaign yesterday because I was so mad about Gaza, and
we didn't even talk about that, but we did a little. But yeah, I mean, it's so emotionally. Yeah, we'll get to it on Saturday. We're going to be discussing that whole issue.
Yeah, what we thought we were going to talk about is not what we're going to talk about, because
there's a term called hypernormalization that I'm going to bring up on Saturday, because it seems to be the situation that's happening. And it's so mentally difficult to handle this right now in Gaza. There was a woman in Gaza who said, "I'd rather be bombed," and because the starvation is so horrific. So so we're going to be talking about that on Saturday. Sorry, it's going to be a dark topic on Saturday, but it's dark topics all the time now. It just is.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why we need our communities. We need to bring them together. We need to figure out mutual aid, because when we shut it down, when we shut it down, we need each other, because that's how we break it. I am 100% convinced that is the only way we break it. We've been telling them they don't care. We've been pleading and protesting. They don't care. And the protesting is more for us now, but we need an action behind that. And I think that no work, no school, no buying for a week, they'd crumble.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Coke felt it from us. So when we stopped buying Coca-Cola, like now they're like, "Oh, 2 for $5," and we're like, "We're still not going to buy you guys."
Right. No,
here's a free one as you come in the door. Nope.
We'll go with Jaritos. That's our jam. Like, we're good with that.
No, they do feel the pressure. BDS is very effective, folks. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So BDS by the way, BDS, the New York Times, everyone, the most disgusting opinion piece they had today. What's happening in Gaza is not a genocide. That was their opinion. So please don't even bring up their name ever again.
Cancel your New York Times subscription right now.
Don't even mention it. Don't even mention it.
And I'm so happy people are starting to see this propaganda. Like, that's another thing. We need more media literacy in our schools, so that way we're verifying these sources and students aren't just taking things like, "Oh, I saw it on the internet, so it must be true." Like, no, we need validation. We need you to search those sources. Who's behind it? Who's paying for it? And I've been trying to work for that, and this board that I'm on has been stalling that. So that's why I even tell people, like, even though it doesn't look sexy, being a school board trustee, you get to help shape the minds of the next generation, and you actually get to be their voice, because a lot of students don't have a trustee who is advocating for them. They're more telling them what they need to do.
Yep. Thank you, Gabe. Again, thank you.
Of course. You're inspiring me. If I don't make lieutenant governor, maybe I'll look into that.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun. I like it.
All right.
Cool.
Well, see everybody Saturday noon.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye. Thanks,
All right.
Everybody.
An uprising, we're rising up. It's an uprising, we're rising up. It's an uprising. Fight the power. It's an uprising. Fight the power.